Hi, my name is Michael Adinolfi, and I'm doing a presentation on how the snare drum works. And this is my audience and family. Very nice family. Okay. Music in many forms has been around for several millennia. Music dates way back to prehistory with the discovery of flutes carved from bone to ancient tribes of man beating on drums to summon their gods. In more recent history, the past few centuries have taken us from Baroque and classical styles of music in the 16th to 19th centuries to blues, jazz, and rock and roll of the 20th and 21st centuries. A central element in these styles of music has been rhythm and percussion. The quintessential instrument involved in the development of these more recent styles of music is the snare drum. The snare drum has been absolutely essential to the development of modern day music, whether it be the intricate time signatures of jazz and progressive rock, or the bubblegum pop and trendy hip-hop scene that has been popularized over the past few decades. Without the punch of the snare drum, driving rhythms could have not been formed. The snare drum is made up of three main components: the drum head, shell, and snares, which all must interact in unity to play the instrument with varying styles and techniques. Well, what is a snare drum? A snare drum is an instrument of the membranophone family that utilizes a stretched membrane across a shell, with one central piece that sets it apart from other drums, the snare. The snare is seen right here at the bottom. The snares, perhaps the most important piece of the drum, are stretched across the bottom drum head. According to Drummer magazine, the most common model is a 20-strand conventional chrome-plated wired set. Here I have a Ludwig Black Beauty snare drum that is 14 inches across and 6.5 inches deep. As you can see, the snares are stretched across the bottom by a clamp that renders the snares stretched tightly across the bottom or dangling loosely. That takes the snares off, that puts them on. There is also a tension setting seen here, right here, that adjusts how tightly the snares are against the bottom drum head, producing tighter sounds or more rattling. The snares are made up of stainless steel. However, this was not always the case. They used to be made of things like guts from an animal, or even in more recent times from different types of metal. The snares rattling across the bottom drum head is what produces the sound, which takes us to the next essential component. The drum head is what is known as the stretched membrane. The history of the drum head isn't very pleasant. According to a website, moderndrummer.com, it used to be made from the skin of an animal by drying it, stretching it over the top, and securing it. There's even speculation that in ancient history, human skin was used at times. Nowadays, the drum head is made up of a thinly manufactured plastic, sometimes with a coating, a white coating, or even a double-layered plastic fused together with an oil resin in between to be able to either muffle the sound or prolong the longevity of the drum head. As seen here, I am using an Evans Ambassador Series drum head. The snare drum's head's tension is adjusted with the lugs attached to the shell using a drum key. The shell is composed of the two rims, seen top and bottom here. The lugs, which are right all around here, and the body of the shell. In the past, the shell has been made from different types of wood, whether it's pine, birch, basswood, cedar, maple, to even acrylic or brass, as seen here in my Ludwig. Utilizing the shell, snares, and drum head is easy. The snare drum is most commonly used with impact of the drumstick on the top of the drum head of the snare, creating a resonance that rattles the snares. Depending on how hard or soft the head is hit determines the nature of the music or the feeling or vibe behind the music. Also, positioning of the point of impact with the snare is critical to the level of resonance and the length of sound, whether it's here or here. A softer version of playing the snare drum involves the use of brushes, which I don't have any here, but brushes are usually made of a thin type of wire, and it's often used in jazz. One last technique that can be employed is the use of the rim. For accenting or clicking, the drummer can either click the rim with the center of the stick and one end touching the center, or perform a rim shot by simultaneously hitting the snare drum head and rim at the same time. So an example of a rim shot would be something like this, and an example of a click would be something like this. various techniques of play applied to the snare drum enable it to be extremely versatile in the field of rhythm and percussion. The make of the shell, snares, and drum head will ultimately determine the sound that a drummer can produce. However, how it is played, however, is left to the intuition and the vibe of the drummer. As the great Buddy Rich once said, every drummer that had a name because of his individual playing. He didn't sound like anybody else, so everybody else that I ever listened to in some form influenced my taste. And my audience is still here. You want to show everybody? Thank you.